everybody. Hope you're all having a great day. All right, so I wanted to talk about radians versus degrees for the homework. We're talking about number 1, and I'm going to talk about number 3 as well, a little bit down here. So what you're going to be doing is converting from degrees to radians or radians to degrees, whatever they give you. Now, we know there's a relationship between the two such that the pi radians equals a straight 180 degrees. So we can use this, right? So we know that if I travel 180 degrees, I've traveled a pi amount of distance. And we know this from graphing with our trig functions, right? So we're going to use this relationship, this visual and this conversion rate here to kind of just go back and forth between the two. So this might be a little scary because it's a negative angle measurement, but don't let that scare you. You know, if you think about this visually, all right. So let's think here. Negative just means I'm traveling downward at first instead of upward. All right. So 585 degrees. Well, what's that? 180, 360, 540, and then another 45 degrees. I gotta go. So I really traveled how many times around? You know, well, 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. And then half of a pi, right? So if this is pi, this has got to be pi over 2. So if I traveled, you know, 1, 2, 3 pi's, so there's 3, and then half of a half pi, well, half of a half is 1/4, right? So this is 3 1/4 pi. Now that's kind of the visual way to figure it out, right? So there is a straight conversion rate. We can use this pi radians equals 180 degrees aspect. If you think about it, this is also like 135 degrees in the opposite way. But you know, let's deal with the negatives, right? So we have this negative 585 degree measurement. We can just multiply by the conversion rate, pi over 180 degrees. And this is just a simple negative 585 pi over 180. And that'll break down, you know, that'll break down to what, 3.25 pi, or you can just leave it as 3 1/4 pi, or even if you're getting real fancy with it. Now this is of course all negative, so it's because the negative stands for, or you can get real fancy with it, 13/4 pi. I mean, any of these totally acceptable answers, right? So we got the visual and we got the actual algebraic rule. So let's look at number 3 here. It's kind of the same idea, right? We're going from radians to degrees. All right, so let's take a look at what this is. So this is really negative 1 5/6 pi, right? So they give it to us as a simplified fraction. We want to give it to us as a mixed number. So what does this look visually? Maybe we can make some measurements there. So from 0, pi over 2, pi, and then 3 pi over 4, or 3 pi over 2, I mean. All right, so this is a negative, so we're gonna travel down this way. So this pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 kind of measurements flip over. It's not a big deal. We don't really need to pay attention to that. I'm going negative 1 units, so negative 1 pi. So there I've traveled already 180 degrees, and then 5/6. Well, I have to take these two things and break them into 6 sections. So each section is worth 30 degrees. So 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90, and that kind of makes up the 90-degree angle measurement per quadrant. So we're going to go 5 of these things. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So I went 180 degrees plus the 150 degrees, 330 degrees total that I've traveled. So there's my conversion rate, right? So there's a visual of it. If we want to do just a straight arithmetic, we don't want to draw any of these things. I'm tired of doing all this. Then you know you can do the conversion rate. So we have the negative 11/6 pi times the conversion. I want to convert it to degrees. So my degree measurement is going to be up top, and my pi is going to be down below. We do the up top and below to kind of like cancel out the pi's, right? We did that earlier with the degree measurements. So this gives us 1,980 degrees over 6. Which actually reduces to 330 degrees. So, you know, there's either way you can do it. It does whatever thing finds you, you know, easy for you to remember. I personally like to remember the picture. I like things better when things are given to me as a picture. I don't always remember this ratio factor, but I do always remember that I'm traveling 180 degrees. I'm also traveling pi radians, so I can remember that, and this usually leaves me in the right realm as well. So I hope this has been helpful, and of course if anybody has any questions, please let me know.